At 77 years old, Samuel L. Jackson has nothing left to prove, and perhaps that is why he finally decided to reveal the stories he once kept buried. For decades, Jackson was not only one of Hollywood's hardest working men, but also its most fearless. The voice, the presence, the fury. Audiences came to expect it on screen. But what they never saw were the moments he chose to walk away. 7 sets, 7 battles. 7 times when Samuel L. Jackson put his pride above his paycheck and his self-respect above Hollywood's power. Tonight, we uncover them all. From friendships shattered to careers risked, these are the 7 sets Jackson walked off, and the shocking reasons why. Let us begin, not at the start, but at the end, with the most well-known of all. Number 7, Spike Lee. For years, Samuel L. Jackson and Spike Lee had worked hand in hand. Together, they shaped films that defined black cinema in the late 80s and early 90s. Lee gave Jackson space in Do the Right Thing and Jungle Fever, roles that elevated him out of obscurity. They were close. Jackson later said he thought they had a real relationship, but in 1992, when Spike Lee prepared to make his masterpiece, Malcolm X, cracks appeared. Jackson was offered a role but turned it down flat. Not because of the character, not because of scheduling, but because of money. Jackson wanted a proper contract, one that reflected his worth. What he was offered was what Hollywood calls scale plus 10, the minimum actors receive plus a small percentage. Jackson felt it was insulting, a slap in the face for someone who had already given Lee some of his most memorable characters. He refused. He walked, and in doing so, he fractured a partnership. Spike Lee didn't forgive easily. For more than 20 years, they didn't work together again. Jackson would later admit he was hurt. He thought they were friends. But in Hollywood, friendship often ends when contracts are signed. Walking off Malcolm X may have been the boldest stand of Jackson's career, but it came at a price, the loss of a creative ally who once helped shape his rise. Number 6, the producers who wanted him censored. In the 90s, Jackson was becoming known for his sharp tongue, his unfiltered dialogue. It was the rhythm of his speech, the profanity that rolled like poetry, that made him unique. Yet producers often found that edge dangerous. On one particular film, executives demanded he rewrite his lines, cut the swearing, soften the anger. They wanted a family-friendly Samuel L. Jackson, stripped of the very thing that made him stand out. Jackson refused. He closed the script, handed it back, and walked off. To him, it wasn't simply about words. It was about authenticity. He later called it censorship. The studio scrambled to bring him back, realizing the film without him was lifeless. They caved, and Jackson returned, with his dialogue untouched. The message was clear. Samuel L. Jackson would never bow to a script that didn't sound like truth. Walking off that set didn't just protect his integrity. It solidified his identity. From that day forward, audiences expected and demanded the unfiltered fire that only he could deliver. Number 5, the role he refused to play. Hollywood has long been guilty of stereotyping, and black actors especially have suffered the indignity of one-dimensional roles. Jackson faced it early and often. On one occasion, he was offered a character that was not a man but a caricature. Loud, angry, stripped of humanity. Jackson read the script and knew instantly it was poison. He confronted the producers, demanded rewrites. They refused. So he walked. Years later, he would look back and explain, "I didn't fight my way here just to be somebody's stereotype." This was more than a walk-off. It was resistance against an industry eager to recycle tired images of black life. By rejecting that role, Jackson forced Hollywood to see him not as a cliché, but as an actor capable of depth and intelligence. And though that choice may have cost him a paycheck, it gave him something far more valuable: respect. Number 4, the studio that paid him less. Fame does not erase injustice. Even as his star rose, Jackson discovered he was being paid less than white co-stars with smaller roles. He didn't throw a tantrum. He didn't scream. He simply walked away. He knew his value and he demanded it be recognized. Studios, afraid of losing him, eventually adjusted. But the fact it happened at all revealed a painful truth. Even in the 90s, one of Hollywood's most bankable stars had to fight for equal pay. Walking off those sets wasn't just about money. It was about dignity. Jackson knew his worth long before the industry admitted it. Number 3, the set that could have killed him. Action movies are built on risk, and Jackson made his name in some of the most dangerous sequences in Hollywood. But even he had limits. On one particular production, he was shown a stunt setup that looked wrong. Corners had been cut, safety nets incomplete. To Jackson, it was obvious. He called it what it was, a death trap. When others insisted it was fine, Jackson stood his ground. He refused to shoot, walked off, and didn't return until the stunt was redesigned. Some called him difficult. He called it survival. For Jackson, no role, no stunt, no paycheck was worth dying for. That walk-off may have saved not only his life, but the lives of others who would have been exposed to the same reckless setup. Number 2, the friend who betrayed him. Not every walk-off was about producers or studios. Some came from betrayal. Jackson once revealed that a fellow actor, someone he considered a friend, secretly worked behind the scenes to cut his screen time. While smiling in public, they were sabotaging him in private. Jackson discovered the truth. He didn't start a fight. He didn't beg. He simply walked away. In later interviews, he would call it what it was: sabotage. He never named the actor, but the wound was clear. Hollywood is full of smiling faces, but not all of them are allies. Some are rivals waiting for the chance to climb higher at your expense. Walking off that set wasn't just a protest. It was Jackson's way of saying he would not stay where betrayal was allowed to fester. Number 1, the showdown that made him a legend. Of all the walk-offs, one towers above the rest: a big-budget film. A studio desperate for control. At the last moment, executives demanded changes that would have gutted his role, stripped it of meaning, and reduced Samuel L. Jackson to little more than an extra in a film that was supposed to showcase him. Jackson listened. He didn't argue. He didn't plead. He stood up, turned, and walked out. When the studio called, desperate to know why, his answer was simple: "Call me when you know who I am." Those words forced the executives to back down. The rewrites were abandoned. His role was restored. That walk-off didn't just save a film. It cemented Jackson's place as one of Hollywood's most uncompromising stars. 7 sets, 7 battles, 7 moments when Samuel L. Jackson chose principle over convenience, pride over silence, and self-respect over obedience. At 77, he finally revealed them, not as tales of anger, but as proof of survival. Each walk-off carried a cost. He lost roles. He lost friends. He lost alliances. But he also won something far greater: the right to stand tall in an industry determined to cut men like him down to size. And so we must ask, were these walk-offs the secret to his longevity, the reason Samuel L. Jackson is still standing while others have faded? Or were they scars, reminders of opportunities lost, doors closed forever because one man dared to say no? At 77, Samuel L. Jackson doesn't walk onto sets the way he used to, but the memory of the sets he walked away from still lingers. 7 stories that remind us that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in Hollywood is leave.